Alrighty, we are live for another random stream. We are live. We are. Got some stuff to get through today before we get into House of Commons and question period, but that's not the case right now, is it? It's not going to be happening anytime soon. We got a lot of videos to get into, and then we have a pretty lengthy speech from Pierre that we'll get into as well. Canadian politicians are now threatening to take California, Washington, and Oregon, promising them free healthcare if they join as a province of Canada. How drunk is Elizabeth May? Well, let's hear.
Have we got a deal for you? You think we want to be the 51st state? Nah, but maybe California would like to be the 11th province. How about it? California, Oregon, Washington, you've got geography in common with us. And not only that, we've already got a carbon trading system between California and Quebec. We've got some strong alliances on our west coast from British Columbia. There's been a lot of academic papers on the idea of Cascadia. So California, Governor Newsom, and Washington State, Jay Inslee, and newly elected Governor of Oregon.
Oh, we'll get into Gavin Newsom later. He has caused one of the largest disasters, I think, possible in California. We'll get to that eventually. Don't you worry, Gavin. We'll talk about you eventually. I don't know how much she's had to drink, though. She thinks that these 3 states are going to join Canada. I don't think so. And if we're talking about British Columbia, it's already considered Northern California in my books. So the states technically already own that for the most part. Let's move on from that insanity into some more insanity. Liberal MP Kevin, creepy Kevin. Look, he says that the Conservatives spent millions and millions and millions of dollars to discredit Trudeau, and that played a significant role in his resignation. He urges the next Liberal leader to reassess the carbon tax before the next federal election. I think the Liberals need to reassess their entire party, because right now, it's not looking too hot for them. Some of these polls that are coming out predicting the future election in 2025, it looks like it's going to be an absolute landslide, and the Liberal Party will not be literally anything at this point. I guess we'll see what happens, though, when the time comes.
You think Justin Trudeau could have won this election?
I had no problem with Justin Trudeau continuing on. We've got to put into perspective in terms of the amount of money that the Conservatives and other stakeholders have invested in discrediting Justin Trudeau over the years. It's disgraceful in terms of the millions of dollars that have been mounted against him through, in particular, social media. I believe that the timing for him in terms of stepping down, and I disagree with what likely is a majority of people, I believe the timing is right. We have enough time to have a solid leadership campaign. We will get candidates going into the race. I think at the end of the day, Canadians will be satisfied.
What a fool. What an absolute fool. This man defended Trudeau the entire way. They're all completely out of touch. It's just very simple. Comes down to they are out of touch. And when you see all of the Liberal MPs they have in this list, or that they have lined up, Chrystia Freeland, Mark Carney, he's technically not a Liberal MP, but these are all individuals that are being recommended. LeBlanc is another one for the position of PM or the leader of the Liberal Party. The bottom line is they've all spent time with Trudeau. They were all best buddies with him and backed him the entire time. None of them would be a better choice than Trudeau. I wish I had the list directly in front of me right now. It continues to grow as the days go on. More and more Liberal MPs throwing their hats in the ring, thinking that they'll have some sort of say in the next election. It's kind of a joke. Would you look at this? Governor Gavin Newsom on LA not having water in its fire hydrants. Claims it's not his job.
What is the situation with the water? Obviously, in the Palisades, ran out last night in the hydrants. I was talking to the firefighter on this block. They left because there was no water in the hydrant here.
The local folks are trying to figure that out. I mean, just when you have a system that's not dissimilar to what we've seen in other extraordinarily large-scale fires.
Local folks got to figure that out. Wow, look at that fucking building behind him. One of the many buildings, just blocks, absolutely decimated by these fires. They were told numerous times about the hazards within the brush. They ignored them. And here we are now. Literal devastation. State Farm canceled 1,600 policies in the Pacific Palisades last year because California wouldn't allow them to raise premiums to cover their exposure. Instead of fixing an immediate problem, Newsom worked on Trump-proofing his state to protect illegal immigrants. Instead of protecting the people that live there, you sit there and let the entire city burn down. Now, look, this happens every year. There's a massive wildfire that breaks out in California. It happens every year, whether it's somebody flicking a cigarette into the brush or a thunderstorm and it's super dry and it causes a fire that way. Look, simple fact of the matter is it happens every year, but this could be argued as some of the most property damage we have seen in a very long time. I would have to look further into that, but based on some of the things I've seen, the videos we're looking at here, it's not looking good, to say the very least. Hey, this looks like something you would see out of a movie. I'm not even lying. You go and watch that shitty Seth Rogen movie, This Is the End or whatever. This is more or less what it looked like. All of California just on fire. Insane. Entire city blocks, entire home districts, whatever the hell you want to call them. Dunzoed. Absolutely dunzoed. We have some more video here as well. And I couldn't imagine breathing in all that smoke, all of whatever, God knows what's in that air. See the people wearing masks again, thinking that's gonna help them, but here we are. Wearing those paper-thin masks, thinking that the smoke isn't gonna get through. But yeah, I guess let them do what they want. They do live in California. I am skipping through these videos as quickly as possible here because it would go on forever. But these are massive homes just annihilated. Apparently a lot of celebrities complaining about their homes being destroyed. Oh, boo fucking who. You're all millionaires, gajillionaires anyway. You'll get your home rebuilt. You probably have 3 homes in 5 different states. I don't know how that math works out, don't ask me, but anyway, this clip will be the final nail in the failed career of Governor Gavin Newsom. Mark my words. Take a listen.
Governor, you got a second? Governor, I live here, Governor. That was my daughter's school, Governor. Please tell me what you're going to do. I'm not going to hurt him, I promise.
I'm literally talking to the president right now to specifically answer the question of what we can do for you and your daughter.
Can I hear it? Can I hear your call? Because I don't believe it.
I'm sorry. There's literally, I've tried 5 times. That's why I'm walking around to make the call.
Why is the president not taking your call?
Because it's not going through. So
Why?
I have to get cell service.
So let's
There's
get
no
it.
cell service.
Let's get it. I want to be here when you call the president.
I appreciate it. I'm doing that right now. And it's to immediately get reimbursements, individual assistance, and to help you. I'm devastated for you. I'm so sorry, especially for your daughter. I have 4 kids losing the school.
Everyone who went to school there, they lost their homes. They lost 2 homes because they were living in one and building another. Governor, please tell me, what are you going to do with the president right now?
We're getting the resources to help rebuild.
Why was there no water in the hydrants, Governor?
That's all literally.
Is it going to be different next time?
It has to be. Has to be. Of course.
What are you going to do?
I'm doing everything.
I mean, you all voted him in. If you live there, you most likely voted for him because it's an insanely extreme left-leaning place, and most people that live there believe that Gavin Newsom's doing a great job. After this, though, you think it might go a little bit different. I don't know. I guess we'll see. But if we scroll down here, he literally he went from I'm literally on the phone with the president to I can't get a hold of him in a span of 10 seconds.
All the hydrants, I would fill them up personally, you know that.
I literally have.
I would fill up the hydrants myself.
I understand.
But would you do that?
I would do whatever I can.
But you're not. I see do you know there's water dripping over there, Governor? There's water coming out there. You can use it.
I appreciate it. I'm going to make the call to address everything I can right now, including making sure people
I'd
are
like
safe.
to make sure you do. Can I have an opportunity to at least tell people you're doing what you're saying you're doing? Could somebody have a contact? Can I have
He's just a spineless loser. What a guy. All right. What do we got up next here? What do we have up next? Oh, right. This is another Liberal MP who is going to be running for Prime Minister, but something around the lines of he wants to essentially eliminate the French language from being spoken in Parliament. I didn't 100% look into this. I'm fresh to this video, so we're going to be watching this one together. But apparently this guy can barely speak English as it is, so yeah, just fucking brutal.
Trudeau's resignation has sparked a contest to replace him. The Liberal Party's executive committee, in fact, is meeting today to set the rules for that race. Many potential candidates say they're waiting to know the rules of the campaign before committing, but two Liberals have already officially declared they intend to run to be Trudeau's successor. Former Montreal MP Frank Baylis, whom we spoke with earlier this week, and current Ottawa MP Chandra Arya, who is with me live now in studio. Mr. Arya, good to see you. Thank you for making
this guy right here, he's going to be attempting to run for PM. Let's take a listen at what he has to say.
the time.
Thanks for having me.
So just before Christmas, I remember seeing on social media, you kind of appear to endorse Chrystia Freeland as a leader, saying, Christia's approach, polite yet firm, has demonstrated her capacity to stand up to even the most intimidating personalities, embodying the strength of an iron fist in a velvet glove. Now, Ms. Freeland has not announced that she's in, but she certainly hasn't announced that she's out. Why have you decided to step in yourself instead of throwing your support behind her?
During holidays, I did give a great deal of thought on what exactly is ailing Canada today. You know, we have had unprecedented structural problems today.
Wait, he had what today?
We had unprecedented structural problems today.
Guys, if you're in chat right now, I need a translator.
We have got younger generation who can't afford homes. Working middle class people, in fact, the wage rise during the last 5 years for the third and fourth quintile people, about 40% Canadians, it is 25% below the top 20.
I'm not even going to lie. I could sometimes make out what they're saying. If you have a super heavy accent, like I can make out what you're saying, but this time, holy.
In the bottom 20. And 13 million working Canadians don't have workplace pension. Many of them will be retiring directly into poverty. So these are structural problems that requires very...
What is he saying there? Sectional problems, or am I hearing something else?
Tough political decisions that are necessary, and I think I'm the one who can make it.
Why should Canadians believe you when you've been part of a government that has overseen those structural problems, the existence of them? I'm not attributing all blame to them, but surely Canadians would look at you and say, hey, you're saying there's big issues with the middle class. People can't afford a home. Well, you've been part of a government that didn't fix that problem.
Technically, I'm not part of the government. I'm a member of parliament. Our job as a member of parliament is to hold government accountable. Yes,
And how have you been doing with that, buddy? Holding government accountable. Holy shite. Get a load of this guy. Holding the government accountable. My God. This is him. This is the guy who is holding Trudeau accountable. You heard it here first. You heard it here first.
Some of the things that
or maybe you didn't hear it here first, because I can barely understand what this guy is saying.
The things that have been there, like 13 million working Canadians having workplace pension problems, it has been there for decades. So a lot of things that have been coming up, growing up, now it's all accumulating because the post-pandemic scenarios, everything changed. In fact, economists, they can't depend on the models anymore.
Sounds like he's speaking in hieroglyph.
Some of the things that have happened during the last 4 years, especially post-pandemic, has shattered every other model. So this is a time for a new approach. Very, very tough decisions needs to be made.
And I have to, again, respectfully challenge you, though. I take your point that you weren't in cabinet, but you are, as a backbencher, a member of the Liberal government. And until a number of weeks ago, you were actually one of the people supporting Prime Minister Justin Trudeau staying on. So again, I'll put to you, like, take the issue of pensions aside. Yes, that's been around for a long time. When you talk about housing affordability, that emerged, before COVID, but was definitely punctuated right after COVID. It took years, a couple years after that, for your government to respond. Why should Canadians believe you will be more responsive?
And again, look at the solutions I'm proposing. I'm proposing we'll guarantee orders for 100.
I don't even know what he's proposing because I can't really understand him. Could you imagine this guy being prime minister, trying to address the nation? I don't have words because I can't really understand what he's saying.
1,000 prefab homes straight away, upfront. We'll give guarantees so that the new technologies can be built today with the cooperation of the municipal governments and the provincial governments. So that is the kind of...
A what?
Today with the cooperation of the municipal governments and the provincial governments. So that is the kind of proposals, solutions I'm proposing today.
I wanted to...
That's what he's proposing today. I hope you guys all got that. Time to move on, shall we? Oh, wait, no, the next clip is him again. Not yet, guys, not yet. This is what I was talking about before. This man is delusional. If he thinks he can win, the language doesn't matter. It's what we deliver to them. Something about either removing French or not speaking French or not having to speak French. Let's take another listen, shall we?
How's your French?
Nope.
No? No French?
No French.
Okay, the Liberal...
How's your French? Nope.
How's your French?
Nope.
Nope.
No French?
No French.
Okay, the Liberal Party of Canada is the party of official bilingualism. It's going to be a tough one. I don't speak French either, so
The point is that whether the Quebecers or English Canadians, it's not the language that matters, it's what is that they deliver to them.
But the language matters very much in Quebec.
No, at the end of the day...
No! He just keeps saying no. He just keeps saying no. He acts like Quebecers would actually vote for him in the first place.
The Quebecers see who delivers what. We have English-speaking, French-fluent prime minister for all the time. One of the things that matters to Quebecers are being a sovereign country, a sovereign republic.
Yeah.
And which prime minister has ever talked about that?
Mr. Arya, if you're going to run for prime minister, you have to know that the French language matters and the French it matters in Quebec.
He can't even, the CBC reporter can't even keep a straight face. Like, even he knows. Come on, man.
Arya, if you're going to run for prime minister, you have to know that the French language matters and the French it matters in Quebec.
Trust me.
Profoundly.
Trust me, at the end of the day, for French Canadians and English Canadians, the matters most is that how the children and grandchildren are going to prosper in this country.
And trust me, buddy, the people that live in Quebec are not going to be voting for you. It's going to be far from that. Moving on. Just a quick little highlight here. A judge sentences Trump to unconditional discharge in the hush money case that he was involved in. More or less just keeping him a convicted felon and letting him do his thing. That's kind of just what it comes down to. That's all I got from that. They couldn't do much about it in the first place. They just wanted to have that convicted felony label on him, or convicted felon label on him. Anyway, moving on. Because we got this idiot to talk about. Turn off the closed captions here. I guess this actually plays in with Trump as well. Trudeau is responding to Trump and annexing Canada. All of the 51st state jokes. All of that stuff coming out here. This is CNN. My God. One of the most garbage mainstream media platforms out there, period. Of course they'll have Trudeau on. Of course they'll have Castro Jr. on. Let's get into it, shall we?
Yes, right now is Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Thank you so much for being here.
Glad to be here, Jay.
Really appreciate it. Before I get into the funeral and before I get into what's going on with you back in your home country, I do want to ask, our country and the world really is watching these horrible fires in Los Angeles. Canada has a lot of experience with similar conflagrations. I know that you have been offering resources to the people of California and Los Angeles. What advice could you offer them?
Well, I think, unfortunately,
First things first, don't ask Trudeau for advice, and if he gives you advice, don't take it.
over the past years, we've seen it get far worse, and we
You want to talk about wildfires? What happened to Jasper, buddy? You're gonna ask this guy for advice on wildfires? Are you fucking for real?
We've seen wildfires increasingly encroaching on urban areas, and that's an interface fire where we're having to train up more local municipal firefighters to deal with wildfires in a way that we never had before. I've been back and forth texting with Governor Newsom. We've offered a tremendous amount of equipment that they're already accepting. There's expertise. There's things that we're having to do to deal with together as we, of course, respond to these fires, but also know that climate change means they're going to get steadily worse, and we have to keep stepping up on fighting climate change too.
But a lot of people out there might say, what does climate change have to do with this? Explain.
Well, when the summers get drier, when weather gets hotter, when weather patterns shift, communities that were built in a place that never saw fires are suddenly seeing fires much more frequently. There's a
When you ignore the warnings of the brush and the dead trees and the just overall forest floors, then yeah, you probably get devastating fires. Crazy thought process, I know. I don't know about you guys, but all those dead trees and dried up brush, all of that, oh, that doesn't light on fire. No, trees don't light on fire. Let's not take care of our forests. Let's just fucking let them burn down. I can't imagine asking Trudeau for advice on wildfire situations. Gotta be a special kind of special. And the fact that this guy has text messages and DMs with Gavin Newsom screams volumes. Actually screams volumes. Because they're most likely on the same page when it comes to the policies they want to enact. They're probably best buddies. Probably meet up from time to time in the $9 million bathtub in the sky. I don't know, though. I don't know. I can only imagine.
A shift in everything that means even what we see now is going to just get worse and worse and worse over the coming decades if we're not serious about reducing our emissions and looking for ways to protect our future generations.
So you are here in Washington, D.C., even though you just stepped down as your party's leader and you will soon leave as prime minister. But why was it important for you to come here to Washington today to go to President Jimmy Carter's funeral?
Well, President Carter was a dear friend of my father's. They overlapped in their times of service. And Jimmy had been down at my father's after my father's funeral 25 years ago. He was always an inspiration to me in terms of compassionate, selfless leadership. And it was important for me, and I think it was important for the friendship between our countries, that the Prime Minister be there to represent.
President-elect Trump has been needling you a bit, calling you Governor Trudeau, talking about making Canada the 51st state. Did you have any interaction with him today?
No, not today. But that's not going to happen. Canadians are incredibly proud of being Canadian. One of the ways we define ourselves most easily is, well, we're not American. There is such a depth of pride that's not actually an issue. What I
feel like smashing my head off the hardest object nearby after what I just listened to.
think is happening in this is President.
The biggest difference is, well, that we're not American. Wow. Thank you, Trudeau. I didn't know that being a Canadian. I actually didn't know that. I thought we were American. That's crazy. This is news to me, guys. Breaking news, by the way. Canadians aren't American. I don't know if you guys knew that or not. It's news to me. Breaking.
President Trump, who's a very skillful negotiator, is getting people to be somewhat distracted by that conversation, to take away from the conversation around 25% tariffs on oil and gas and electricity and steel and aluminum and lumber and concrete, and everything the American consumers buy from Canada is suddenly going to get a lot more expensive if he moves forward on these tariffs. And that's something that I think we need to be focusing on a little bit more.
Did the re-election of Donald Trump and this more direct confrontation
make you shit your pants? Yes, it probably did.
With Canada over this issue play any role at all in your decision to resign as leader of your party and prime minister?
No, on the contrary. What we were able to do during the first...
Then why did you and Freeland, within a month's time, more or less, step down and resign? One after another. It's just one after another. So many people know you are a weak leader. It doesn't take an intelligent person to know that. This guy has made our country just an absolute joke. Look at him. Take a good look at this guy. Leading the country. Striking deals with other international leaders. Could you imagine Justin Trudeau and Vladimir Putin sitting across from a table, debating literally anything? I'm not saying Putin's a good guy by any means, but my God. He would get annihilated. Xi Jinping. He owns him. Xi Jinping probably owns Trudeau. Probably tells him what to do in his spare time. Allegedly. I don't know at this point. I'm just rambling because this guy's an idiot. And so am I. Let's continue.
First presidency of Mr. Trump's was work together in a very challenging situation to come out with a very strong win-win in Canada-U.S. relations with the renegotiation of the USMCA. It is a great deal for both of our countries. We've seen trade grow, we've seen opportunities grow, we've seen wealth grow in both of our countries for workers, for businesses. Working together concretely is something that we've been able to do in the past, and I'm looking forward to continuing to work with him for the next 2 months while I'm still in office.
Let's talk about this potential 25% tariff from the United States on Canada. Economists say that will drive the Canadian economy into a recession, and the Canadian government is preparing retaliatory tariffs if these actually go through. Which do you think would be potentially the most effective against the United States? I don't want them, by the way, just as an American, I don't want these tariffs, but minerals, energy?
We don't want them either. We do not want to see tariffs on our side. We do not want to see
Then fix the border? I don't know what else to tell you at that point. He's made it quite clear the steps you could take to avoid this. And the only person who seems to be following suit, or at least going to the table to have a discussion, is Danielle Smith. She's the only one with an actual brain, it seems like. It's wild. Doug Ford was like, I'm going to pull any supply of energy out from the United States. That's just going to harm us. Not going to do us any favors. Trudeau couldn't even debate his right sock. So at this point, we need, honestly, Danielle Smith for PM. We need somebody at this point. Get it going. What are we doing here as a country? What are we actually doing? Government's been prorogued, Parliament's been stopped, everybody's getting paid to sit here and go on CNN and talk show this, talk show that. What is our country doing? Look at this guy. Oh my God.
Tariffs on your side. It's bad for people who have for generations made things together and been successful together to actually start creating barriers between economies like ours. Like, we have so many resources in Canada, more than our market can support. So we export them to our closest friend who can rely on them. It is a win-win for us. We would definitely respond, as we did years ago when President Trump put tariffs on steel and aluminum. We responded by putting tariffs on Heinz ketchup, on playing cards, on bourbon, on Harley Davidsons, on things that would hurt American workers. But we don't want to do that because it drives up prices for Canadians and it harms our closest trading partner.
Is there nothing that Donald Trump is saying about trade status and relations right now where you think that he has a point? There's nothing you think that is unfair?
I mean, the conversation around tariffs started around border concerns. And what I spoke with him about in Mar-a-Lago was the fact that less than 1% of migrants into the United States, less than 1% of fentanyl into the United States comes from Canada. But there are absolutely more things we can do.
And you pledged $1 billion to enhance border security.
We're strengthening. That's a clear win for President Trump that got us to do even more to reduce even further the minimal amounts coming in. On trade, there's more that we can do, but we should be focused on making sure that we're replacing Chinese lithium or Chinese germanium or Russian titanium into American productions by relying on your closest and friendliest trading partner in Canada. We can be a strong supplier of things that the U.S. needs to compete around the world because we can do it together. That's the argument that I'm making.
So
we should be able to do it on our own as well, but for some reason, we just love selling off our resources to other countries to then buy it back. Bottom line is, yes, we do need to fix our relations with the US. We cannot continue this, whatever the hell you want to call it, charades, this ridiculous escapade, whatever the hell, I don't know. An election needs to come. It needs to come soon. Very, very soon. If it doesn't happen by the beginning of May, and they continue to play games, this guy is going to be in office until October. That's what I'm getting at, essentially. Like, he's not going anywhere. We need this the election should have already happened. Should have already happened. But here we are. Jagmeet Singh. Jag Singh. All right, let's continue on.
The struggle that you were having domestically, your disapproval rating, had to do with, as I understand it, discontent with your government because of high inflation and the economy, and also because of immigration policies. Those are also issues that the left-wing party in this country has faced a lot of disapproval of and just lost an election over. It seems like voters in both of these, liberal democracies are sending a message to left-wing parties, liberal parties. We don't like how you're doing the economy when it comes to inflation. We don't like how you're doing immigration.
There are a lot of feelings involved. I mean, if you look at the actual numbers, inflation in Canada was lower, came down quicker. Our economy bounced back faster after the pandemic than anyone else's, including the United States. We're projected to grow faster than the United States and all other G7 countries next year. Our economy is doing very well. But when someone's paying $8 for a head of lettuce, it doesn't matter that you're doing better than they are.
When somebody is paying, hold on.
United States. We're projected to grow faster than the United States and all other G7 countries next year. Our economy is doing very well. But when someone's paying...
No, it's not doing very well. It's really not. You guys went $61 billion over the deficit. How is that doing well? This guy's a moron. And, like, the fact that all of these liberal MPs, the very same MPs, the exact ones who want him to resign, who talk all of this shit about him, backed him the entire way and are now running. Every Liberal MP choice that appears will be gone if an election happened. But no, government's been prorogued. We're waiting till now May. Bloody May. Like, come on. $8 for a head of lettuce, by the way.
$8 for a head of lettuce. It doesn't matter that you're doing better than they are in Spain or somewhere else. There's a sense that, okay, something's got to give. And that's where incumbents...
Something's got to give. And it did give because you stepped down, or supposedly were supposed to, but who knows how this is actually working anymore. This guy's an idiot. Have I said that already? I think I did, but I just want to make that clear.
Are in trouble everywhere across the everywhere around the world, not just in our two countries. The issue, though, is that in a time of crisis, responsible politics is around focusing on things that actually make a real difference in people's lives.
So is that why you prorogued government for 3+ months? Probably. Honestly, we're not getting an election until October. I'm gonna die on that hill. If we get one earlier than that, my God, I'll pop the champagne, but we're not getting one until October. The set date, that's when we're getting it.
We delivered $10 a day childcare. We're delivering a dental care program that provides free dental care to people who don't have coverage. We're moving forward on putting a price on pollution that puts more money in the pockets of 8 out of 10 Canadians, of middle-class Canadians. These are policies that are not short-term. They're policies that will have a deep impact in the well-being of Canadians and of our country for years to come. Now,
for some reason, he's speaking like somebody else is in power, and he's got all these amazing policies and ideas that he's going to enact once he gets into office. Why is he speaking like this? My God, he's like taking no accountability for anything. You're the reason lettuce is $8 a head. You're the reason the economy is so bad. Houses are the most expensive they've ever been, although I think they are starting to come down. Doesn't really matter when they've hit an all-time high. Right? They're coming down from the highest they've ever been. Still pretty bad. Literally everything revolves around this guy.
You can take those policies, like a childcare policy, and say, oh, see, that's just about wokeness and about, women's rights. Well, no, it's about getting more women into the workforce at a time where we need economic growth. That's what it is. But
excuse me?
In the pockets of 8 out of 10 Canadians, of middle-class Canadians. These are policies that are not short-term. They're policies that will have a deep impact in the well-being of Canadians and of our country for years to come. Now, you can take those policies, like a childcare policy, and say, oh, see, that's just about wokeness and about, women's rights.
How the hell do you draw a childcare policy to wokeness? What the fuck does that have to do with anything? Where's this guy coming from? What rock did he crawl out of? My God.
Rights. Well, no, it's about getting more women into the workforce at a time where we need economic growth. That's what it is. But when you get a...
There are more women in the workforce than there ever have been. I don't understand what he's trying to argue right now. Look at this guy.
I was going to say conflagration, but at least an intersection of both right-wing policy, right-wing attacks and social media. You end up with a lot of misinformation, disinformation, and responsible governments have to stay focused on the policies that are making a difference.
Right-wing this and that, aka anybody who doesn't agree with what I say. That's more or less what he means. What a fool. What an absolute fool.
And that's what we've been doing.
I know you have to go. Before you go, I know you're not going to say who you want to succeed.
Please go do us all a favor. Okay. The main event. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time. Roughly 30 minutes of Pierre Poilievre. Here we go. Probably also talking to reporters, if I had to guess.
Thanks very much, everyone. I just got a belated haircut, and the first thing that the hairstylist said to me is, what the hell's going on? Everything's completely out of control. It's nuts. I've never seen it like this. And she's right. But before we get to the obvious of the last 60 days of Liberal chaos and the threats that weakness has invited from incoming President Trump, let's just talk about everything that was out of control before that. Housing costs, out of control, doubled after 9 years of NDP Liberals, rising faster than in any other country in the G7. Food costs, out of control after the NDP Liberal carbon tax caused grocery prices to rise 37% faster in Canada than in the United States, driving 2 million people to food banks. A quarter of our kids, according to federal data, are going to school hungry, and a quarter of our families are living in poverty. The worst inflation in 40 years. After out-of-control Liberal deficits and money printing increased our money supply by $700 billion, or 40%, that is to say 10 times faster than the growth in the output of our economy. Spending out of control. The deficit hit $62 billion. Remember, we were all supposed to accept the excuse that COVID caused the deficit, but as we get further and further away from COVID, the deficit actually gets bigger and bigger. The deficit 50% bigger than it was supposed to be. A fact we found out the same day that the finance minister who was supposed to tell us about this failure resigned and blamed her boss for that failure. Immigration is out of control with a 200% increase in year-over-year population growth, causing a massive housing, social service, and job crisis. Our borders out of control, with dangerous poisons pouring in from China and Mexico, and then manufactured into deadly fentanyl that has killed 47,000 of our people. Crime, completely out of control. Violent crime up 50%. Gun crime up 116%. And hate crime up 251% after 9 years of NDP Liberal, radical, woke, catch and release criminal justice policies. Everything is out of control, and now our government is out of control. We have a lame duck prime minister, rejected and fired by his own caucus, unable to respond to threats from abroad or crises that he and his party caused after 9 years at home. And why did they get rid of him? Did Liberal MPs get rid of him because they disagree with his policies, doubling the housing cost? Did they say that all of a sudden they've changed their mind on quadrupling the carbon tax up to 61 cents a litre? Is it because they feel guilty over the hell they've unleashed in our streets? No. They say he's doing a great job. It's just that Canadians unfairly don't like him anymore. And that
oh, yeah, yeah. Well, that's partially it. Yeah, Canadians do not like him at all. There's a lot more to it than just that. Fucking Trudeau.
Popularity threatens their power, paychecks, and pension. And so, right before an election, the Liberal MPs want to elect another Justin Trudeau who has a different face. They're all Justin Trudeau. They're all just like Justin. In the next election, I will be running against Justin Trudeau. Whether his name is Justin Trudeau, or his name is Chrystia Freeland, or Carbon Tax Carney, or Carbon Tax Clark, they will all be Justin Trudeau. They supported everything he's done, and they promise to keep doing it. And if they say otherwise, we know they're lying, because they would have done so earlier. Let's go through the list. You have Carbon Tax Carney himself. To this day, he's on the Liberal website as the Chief Economic Growth Advisor to Justin Trudeau. He hasn't even resigned from that position after Justin Trudeau has resigned himself as the leader. Presumably then, Carbon Tax Carney supports every single economic policy that has given us the worst decline in per capita GDP of any G7 country, that has doubled our debt, that has taxed our people, that has destroyed our productivity. Oh, there's one disagreement. Carbon tax Carney doesn't think that Justin Trudeau is spending enough.
Not spending enough. Holy. How much more do we need to spend? What are you doing?
On heat pumps. That's the only disagreement we can find so far between Mr. Trudeau and his top economic advisor, Carbon Tax Carney. Then you have Carbon Tax Chrystia, who stormed out as finance minister the day she was supposed to introduce the fall economic update, which would show our deficit 50% bigger than she had promised only 6 months earlier. She suddenly said she objected to the costly political gimmicks on which Trudeau had been spending money, gimmicks that she had publicly supported only weeks earlier in explicit boosterism on the floor of the House of Commons. She claims now she has some disagreement with the deficits that she ran. She disowns her own economic policy. Well, she didn't do that on principle, because she stayed on as finance minister months after she learned the deficit was bigger than she had promised, weeks after she learned the Prime Minister was throwing $4 billion away on a temporary tax trick and gimmick. She only announced she would resign after she learned she was fired. It was all about her. That's why they call her Carbon Tax Chrystia. And then there's Carbon Tax Clark. She's the queen of the carbon tax in British Columbia. She was the carbon tax queen before Justin Trudeau even got the idea. In fact, she might even have been the inspiration. Of course, BC had the first and the worst carbon tax. And Carbon Tax Clark bragged, and you can look up the quote here, bragged that BC's carbon tax was the highest in North America and that it was twice as high as the federally imposed carbon tax. So they're all Justin Trudeau. They're all just like Justin. So what are they fighting about? Given that they agree on all the same disastrous economic policies, they're fighting for themselves. Liberals?
They're fighting for the final scraps. That's essentially what it is. We just watched the government collapse in real time, and now they are scrambling to grab any sort of power left over that they have. What they don't realize is they really don't have any anymore. It's game over. Good night, Jim Kite, to the Liberal Party.
Are putting Liberals first. It's time to put Canada first. Given that all of them are the same, all of them are just like Justin, let's get this decision out of the way. We need certainty now. We cannot wait. I'm calling on Justin Trudeau to do what he has the legal power to do. He can do it without his caucus supporting him. I'm calling on him to walk to Rideau Hall and announce that there will be an Axe the Tax election now, so that Canadians can take back control of their lives and country. The choice will be simple. Either the NDP Liberals, who tax your food, punish your work, double your housing cost, unleash crime and chaos and weakness on the world stage, or common sense Conservatives who will axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, stop the crime, and put Canada first. We will take back control of immigration, take back control of spending, take back control of our borders, take back control of inflation, taxes, and interest rates. Take back control of the country that we knew and still love, and we will put Canada first. We will stand up and we will state clearly that Canada is a sovereign and independent country, that we will protect our integrity as a nation through strength. First of all, this means a strong economy. We need a massive bring-it-home tax cut, lowering taxes on work, investment, energy, and making stuff in Canada will bring home billions of dollars of investment and paychecks, but will also make us more economically independent and less vulnerable to threats from abroad. Second, we need a Prime Minister who can make the case to our economic allies on the ground in America. We should go to the American workers in the Midwest and their union and business leaders and say, how many jobs are you prepared to lose by hitting Canadian energy with tariffs, energy that we sell to America at discounts that create six-figure jobs for American workers? How many of those people will go out of work? How many of those hard hats will be laid down and boots will be unfilled because Americans will lose jobs due to that self-harm if those tariffs go ahead? We need to go to American home builders and say, we can help you build more affordable homes if your government would stop tariffing our softwood lumber. We need to go to the American tech companies and say, you could have access to our unmatched, totally reliable and clean electricity sources for your data centers. AI requires 10 times as much electricity as traditional information technology does. We have the most uranium for nuclear centers. Meta, Google, Microsoft are all buying or refurbishing their own nuclear plants to power their data centers. We can do it for them here in Canada. Cold, dry climate, lots of energy, low cost, totally reliable, 100% ally right next door. We can provide that to America. And energy. Today, Venezuela being torn apart, with opposition leaders being attacked, and what is America going to be forced to do? Buy Venezuelan oil instead of good, clean Canadian oil. Not only should we condemn Maduro and the dictators in Venezuela for what they're doing, we should shut them off by shutting down their energy and their oil sales and replacing it with Canadian oil sales. The Americans, our friends, want Canadian oil, not Venezuelan, not Iranian, and not other dirty dictator oil from around the world.
Venezuela's a dictatorship? Send them $5 billion.
These are the arguments that a strong prime minister with the brains and backbones to lead a country would be making right now if we had a serious government. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to take back control and put our country first. That means rebuilding our economy, bringing home production, rebuilding our military, supporting a strong border, reinstating controls on immigration, and most of all, being proud of our country and unapologetic for our history. We need to honor our past and our shared values. We need to live out the dream that started with John A. Macdonald. Yes, I said John A. Macdonald, who believed in an independent and sovereign Canada. We need to uphold our heroes, stop tearing down our symbols, remind people who come here that when they're given a Canadian flag and they land on Canadian soil, that it's the greatest gift on earth and that they should be proud to be part of the Canadian family. That's what it means to be a proud Canadian. That's what it means to put Canada first. Let's bring it home. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now take
questions from reporters. Let's see if there is any madness in the last 5 to 10 minutes here, roughly. Let's see.
Questions from the floor.
Bonjour, Monsieur Poilievre, Christian Noël de Radio-Canada, juste ici, merci. On n'a pas beaucoup de temps, donc on vous demanderait, s'il vous plaît, de répondre aux questions en français et en anglais. Le Canada organise présentement sa réponse aux tarifs à M. Trump. Est-ce que, selon Pierre Poilievre, l'énergie, le pétrole, le gaz, l'électricité devrait faire partie de cette riposte?
Vous dites de quelle façon devrait faire partie de cette réponse? Nous, de commercial, notre du fait plus bas, cet effet anti-camp, exportateur, on n'a pas de pouvoir de que nous passe au ménage, que maintenant on est stupide et on est attrapé à cette response to the American projet d'énergie pour exporter nos ressources outre-mer. The question was, should oil and gas and other energy be part of our response to the Americans? The reality is putting Canadian tariffs on American energy wouldn't do very much because they buy a hell of a lot more oil and gas from us than we do from them. In fact, our entire trade surplus with the Americans is the result of oil and gas. When President Trump complains about America's trade deficit with Canada, the concern he's raising really is that Canada is selling oil and gas at a massive price discount to American refineries and LNG plants that are able to massively profit at our expense. It is a ripoff. We're ripping ourselves off with this approach. Because of fanatical and stupid environmental extremists in the Liberal government and throughout the country, we are forced to sell almost all of our energy exports to the Americans. So the answer to that is to stop being stupid and start building LNG plants, pipelines, refineries, upgraders, and other energy infrastructure so that we can sell our energy to the world without going through the Americans. That would allow us the independence and the sovereignty that we need to support our economy free from these threats. But I would remind our American friends that they benefit from our affordable, reliable energy, and the alternative is Venezuela, Iran, and other foreign dictatorships. Why would we not want to have a North American energy market that enriches us both?
Thank you.
That would be fantastic. That's what I'm saying as well. I miss the House of Commons. I kind of do. After covering it day after day, and now we're going to get probably nothing until March, even if that happens. Who knows? If there's some sort of emergency meeting or something like that. We're not going to be getting any House of Commons. No question period, most likely, unless they somehow continue it through a prorogued government, which I don't think will be the case. No, it's not the case. Looks like question period will return on the 24th of March. So yeah, it's confirmed here on the schedule. They've shifted the schedule around. 24th of March. A Monday. All right, let's get back to Poilievre.
Next question.
Hi, Mr. Poilievre, Turia Isri, Global News. You spoke of the need to speak to our American allies to make the case against tariffs. So who have you spoken to directly since Trump's threat? And will you be reaching out to American lawmakers and business groups even before becoming Prime Minister to do what you say and put Canada first in English and French?
We need to put Canada first by locking arms with American economic allies on the ground that will put pressure on Washington to do the right thing. Look, I'm not Prime Minister. I respectfully ask the Canadian people to give me the chance to serve them in that role. But that's why we need an axe the tax election now. I need the mandate. The mandate to put our country first, to make the case to the Americans, to bring home production and paychecks to this country, to take back control and end the NDP Liberal chaos. The only way to get that is with an axe the tax election, and that's what I'm calling for Justin Trudeau to launch today. Je suis pas le Premier ministre. Malheureusement, les Canadiens n'auront pas un vrai Premier ministre pour des mois. On n'a que le chaos. Il n'y a aucun chef au Canada aujourd'hui qui a un mandat fort pour négocier avec les Américains. C'est pour ça que Justin Trudeau devrait déclencher des élections dès aujourd'hui pour permettre aux Canadiens de reprendre le contrôle avec une élection permettant aux Canadiens de choisir entre le chaos des libéraux et des séparatistes ou bien
threatening our Happy New Year. For the first time in our living memory, a U.S. president is directly threatening our country. We have an election that's only weeks away, likely. Can you walk us through why you think axe the tax?
We have an election that's only weeks away. Can I hear that one more time?
In our living memory, a U.S. president is directly threatening our country. We have an election that's only weeks away.
Oh my God, I wish that were true.
Likely. Can you walk us through why you think axe the tax is still the ballot box question for this election and not something else?
Yes, because I think that it's ironic we have an American president who's threatening tariffs on Canada, and we have a Canadian government that is threatening even more devastating tariffs on Canada in the form of a carbon tax that will rise to 61 cents a litre. You know, the only person that would like the Canadian carbon tax to go to 61 cents a litre more than the NDP Liberals is President Trump, because he'll be on the phone with our trucking companies, our factories, our mines. He'll be saying, pick up your billions of dollars and move 50 kilometers south, create the jobs for Americans, and leave the carbon tax behind. In the words of Ross Perot, there'll be a large sucking sound of Canadian business jobs and money pouring out of our country, as America has no carbon tax and their other taxes will be dropping, while we're imposing this devastating economic vandalism on our businesses and workers. The only way to bring home paychecks and production is through massive tax cuts on work, savings, investment, making stuff in Canada, and energy. We need cheap, reliable energy to feed our businesses and bring home production for our people.
In French.
Oui, c'est comme ça qu'on nous.
Response Musk seems.
The final question.
Kate McKenna, CBC News. Mr. Poilievre, Elon Musk seems to be a fan of yours. He tweeted a 100% emoji recently in response to a tweet that says, Pierre Poilievre is extremely impressive. He should be Canada's next leader. The sooner, the better. I'm wondering what you think of this, and do you accept his endorsement? In French and English, please.
Well, first of all, my 3-year-old has just told me that he wants to go to Mars. So I guess Mr. Musk would be the right guy to put him in touch with. The fact is that it'd be nice if we could convince Mr. Musk to open some of his factories here in Canada and create some jobs, high-paying jobs for our people. I think Tesla, his company, is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, automotive company in the world. Wouldn't it be nice if we were producing more without corporate welfare, without corporate subsidies like the Liberals favor? We had more of that production here in Canada. I think that would be fantastic. So if I ever get a chance to meet Mr. Musk, what I would say is, how do we make this an economy where we bring home hundreds of billions of dollars of investment to Canada so that our people get the paychecks? And why is it?
Implement Doge. Implement somebody who will keep you all accountable. Implement government efficiency. Stop spending for no reason. Billions of dollars. You want to save billions of dollars? Then stop spending. That 3 to 5 billion you sent to Brazil, there's billions of dollars. Billions of dollars you continue to send over to Ukraine or relief support in Israel and Palestine or whatever. That's billions of dollars there too. Billions upon billions of dollars. We cannot play world doctor while our people here need our help. It's just that simple.
That after 9 years of NDP Liberals, it's Americans that are getting all the paychecks and all the growth. What is it that NDP Liberals have done wrong to drive these hundreds of billions of dollars out of our country? That is the question that all Canadians should be asking. And when I'm Prime Minister, there's going to be massive. This is the message that I have for the Americans, by the way. The days of us just handing over our businesses and our jobs because of our economic vandalism by this big, fat, money-hungry government in Ottawa are over. We're going to have a fierce, free market economy that competes with every country on earth. We're going to bring it home. En français? Comme je viens de dire, mon garçon de 3 ans vient d'annoncer à notre famille qu'il veut visiter la planète Mars. Faire, si on moins par temps, le gouvernement Poilievre, quand je serai Premier ministre,
All right, that was the last question anyway. Looks like he's just going to do some French stuff here. Guys, I have an interesting video we could take a look at. Got him 19 hours ago on Fox 11, Los Angeles. We'll turn off the audio just because the clip is slowed down. I didn't expect that. Hold on. Started from the beginning. Take a quick look. Oh, would you look at that thing flying by through the smoke clouds? Take a look at that. Some weird stuff being found here. They even got like a...
Looks like they caught a UFO on inadvertently. So here's the clip. It goes right here from right to left. I kind of track it a little bit. It's such terrible quality because it's 720p that they posted on their YouTube channel. So you can't really get anything out of it. But we're going to look at this right here. This is the key data. In fact,
so very, very interesting. People trying to argue that it's a helicopter. People saying you need lens crafters if you think it's a helicopter. I don't know what's going on there. And the final thing I want to cover, this has been trending over the past like roughly 10, 12 hours. Convoy 2025. Apparently, it's a possibility. January 25th to 27th, 2025. Convoy 2.0, Ottawa, Parliament Hill. So, I don't know. Guess we'll see when the time comes. All right, guys. That is going to do it for the stream today. Thank you all for joining. Make sure you hit that like button, hit that sub button if you are new. I will try to keep on top of as much political stuff going on as possible. It gets crazier and crazier as the days go on. Thank you all for joining. I will see you in the next one. Have a great rest of your day or night.